So this pour, I mean, we did it yesterday. I did. Today's Georgia May's turn. And I think we are at a consensus in that we believe that it wastes a whole lot of product and it takes a little bit too long. So there's that. But we're doing the soap challenge, and like, I don't even ever think that really any of these soaps are meant to be like in your line permanently because they're awesome. I just think they're meant to be challenging, and this one can be with the amount of time that it takes to make them and all the things. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Georgia May's dancing funnel in just a minute, but before I do, hello, I am Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things, and you are here for day 298 of 365 days of soap, and today's Georgia May's turn at the dancing funnel. Now, I did the dancing funnel yesterday, showed you some cool tips and tricks on how to continue making the circles go out and do the things if your soap batter starts getting too thick. But ultimately, at the end of the day, with a soap like this, you're still going to be left with soap in your squeeze bottles, even if you're like lining them with a plastic bag or whatever, because the soap will get so thick that you won't be able to get all of it onto the top without marring the design. So I did let Georgia May know that before we started the process, and she has also seen, you know, the Norberta being made and all of the things, and so she's aware of this. So I'm interested to see if she manages to get a little bit more into the mold before it gets super thick like mine or not. Same scent blend, same oil blend, same all of the things that we did yesterday, just different soaper, different heats, different all of the things. So let's go check out her pour and see how well she did. Okay, so first up, this video was really long. Georgia May sent me the footage, you know, download it into the drive, and it was well over an hour for just the pour, and so I had to cut some stuff out. And so as a result, you are seeing it, you know, in its soap batter form and not its oil and the lie into the oil and all the jazz form. So there it is. We're just looking at her color prep. Now for this, it's just the same scent blend that we used yesterday from Nurture Soap, right? So that pear, which is just delightful, and same oil blend and same kind of tricks with this, because the thing about a dancing funnel is you really do want your batter to be very fluid, because it's a long ass pour. Like, it's, again, an hour. Oh, yeah, we're not, whenever a soaping experience starts out like that, for me, I'm like, oh God, this is going to be one of those days. Like, cool. So yeah, there's that. Let's hope that it's not one of those days for Georgia May, which, you know, it won't be. Georgia May's great at all the things. But since I had done the pear first, and I used some kind of obvious colors for a pear soap, really, she decided to go something different. And I think her overall design or thought process was dragon fruit, I want to say. And that also super kind of makes sense because dragon fruit, and we use the dragon's blood for the dragon soaps, like the dragon egg soaps for the Norberta bar for the Harry Potter line, which I think is the only other time we've ever actually shown you a dancing funnel on the channel outside of this soap challenge. Because here's the thing, dancing funnels are kind of tedious. I think for the majority of the soap challenges, right? Like, these are not techniques that are meant to be like put into your line And this is part of your soaping experience all of the time, right? Especially not if you're making in bulk, you know, like I do, depending on the size of your business. It's I don't think the majority of the Amy Warden soap challenges are ever designed to, yes, I make these soaps all of the time, because there is that fine line. One, a lot of these pours, this one included, I guess this one is kind of included, I suppose, in the, there's this, well, it's not an idea, it's a very, it's very interesting, you know, just experiment just on, you know, how people think and shop and buy and stuff. And if your soap is too pretty, right, people are less likely to buy it. Obviously you don't want it to be a hot mess, but if your soap is too pretty, people are less likely to buy it because their thing always is, oh, I don't think I would ever use that. And like examples of that are like, oh, that we've done would be, well, the Georgia May, the Bob Ross, right? We didn't even sell that. That's literally art. It's hanging in the shop. And so we didn't cut it. We would never. But like the unicorn ones are a prime example of that. People will buy that as a one-off, but they will not continue to come back and repurchase something like that to use as like their daily soap. And so you have to keep that in mind when you're making soap, because if it takes, you know, over an hour to pour a batch of soap that for some weird reason becomes really popular and you're selling it all the time, well, your ROI is not there. Like, you're not going to be able to really get back what you put into these soaps as far as time goes. And so this is one of them. I think like many of the soap challenges, this is another example of, we are doing this for the challenge, like all the soapers that participate, but not really to put this in our line on the regular, because again, the ROI isn't there. It's not there for selling, but it's a very therapeutic and awesome experience when you learn a new pour anyway. So let's go, you know, pour this guy and see what she comes up with. Okay, and on to the pour of this. Now, I'm actually very interested in this because during the quick edit, to kind of speed some of this stuff up and do the whatever, I don't know that she actually differentiated with her counts between the base layer, which would be this green, and then her two, you know, extra colors. And so I'm interested to see in like regular mode if that's the case. The soap batter itself is very fluid right now, so that's great. That is a beautiful fluidity for this, assuming you can get everything in. Yeah, so she's not really differentiating. Now, the whole idea for the soap challenge, for the dancing funnel, is essentially you put, well, God, now I'm confused. So for your base color, your green, right? You'd put like a 1 count down. And then for the bubbles inside, it's like a 4 count to really spread those out as much as possible. That green layer underneath as much as possible. And so with this many dots, if you go back and look at, you know, yesterday's video, this many dots in the mold would have almost covered the base of the mold for me. So I poured heavier with my accent colors on top of the base color than she is doing here. And I'm interested to see if we see any sort of difference within the pour inside, right? Or the cut inside. So in the, you know, when we cut the bars, you do see this, like on the sides, you see the circles essentially, and the color build in the circles. So essentially, if you just turn the bar all the way around, you have cool like circles everywhere, even if they're like flattened in the, you know, the side pieces, whatever. And so I'm interested to see if this actually changes the side pieces at all with the not necessarily doing a 1 count. Now, that pink batter is actually looking a little bit thick. And there's actually a couple reasons for this. The biggest reason is, and like the biggest tip that I could ever give anyone whenever they start doing a soap challenge from Amy Warden, is do it when you don't have to walk away from things. Because so much of the soap challenge videos are all about the fluidity of the batter. And especially during this era, like when the dancing funnel was its thing on the soap challenge thing, it's yeah, it's really, during this era, it was really about super thin batter to achieve all of this crazy stuff. And Georgia May had to walk away. So you see how thick this is right now. It's thickening up because she had to walk away. After she had done her first little round of the green circles, she had to go help a customer because she did this while the shop was open. And whenever a customer comes in, we abandon whatever we're making on the table if we're the only ones that are manning the shop. And at that point, she was manning the shop on her own. So she had to go walk away. And she actually had to do that multiple times throughout the video. I did notice there were some dead spaces. I mean, not huge ones. There were just, 2 or 3 minutes. But in a pour like this, 2 or 3 minutes will be enough time to thicken your soap batter enough that it's not super going to really work for the end result, or for the finished soap. It's getting thicker and thicker. Now, also, I don't believe that Georgia May saw my soap beforehand, and we didn't talk about it, but also she may have gone back to the Norberta pour and looked at that one where I did the little trick for, if your soap batter gets thick, here's what you do. Like, literally put the nozzle of the squeeze bottle into the soap underneath and then squeeze. And I've never heard anybody actually say that in a dancing funnel. So I don't know that that's, I mean, I think that's what everybody does to continue, but I don't actually think they say it. It's kind of like the Build a Better Bath Bomb video that we did, at the beginning of the channel or whatever. And I gave all the pro tips. Those pro tips are things that bath bomb makers hate me saying. Like, they hate it when I, say things like, yeah, well, you should do it this way. Because I think there's a big layer. There's a lot to soap makers and bath product makers or whatever really trying to make the soaping process and the creation process a lot more complicated than it actually is. So it can be seen as like, oh, this is a super exclusive thing. You don't want to do this. Buy it from me instead. And I think that's just silly because people who want to make are going to make is the thing. And so, yeah, they're going to make. But also, you're not losing any clientele by actually just talking about the process. The process of making soap is not complicated. And for people who try to make it overly complicated and then hide their little secrets or the whatever. And you hear this all the time on like the forums and stuff. People are asking about, recipes. Somebody wanted my recipe. Should I give it out? And the majority of people, like 95% of people are like, no, don't ever do that, or charge like $300 for it. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I give recipes. I give percentages. I do all of the things because the recipe itself isn't really the complicated part with all of it. I mean, it is the complicated part for sure, but somebody who doesn't actually know how to, make the soap the whatever way, what is a recipe going to do, right? Like, they're still going to screw it up. It's like trying to give me, like, I don't know. It's like my mom, when I asked her, many, many, many moons ago, I called her and I was like, okay, what's your bread recipe? And she's like, I don't know. It's 2 cups of this and it's this, and you mix it until it looks like bread. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about what bread looks like. Because I don't know. This isn't my, whatever. And so by withholding like the stupid little pieces of things, and also there are only so many ways to mix oils. And so when people like withhold their recipes and like want to charge for them and stuff, like on one hand, sure, I get it. But on the other hand, whatever, yourself or someone like you can achieve almost anything with almost any recipe, if you're smart about it. And it all depends on your level of skill and patience and all the jazz. So this right here, as you see how thick all the soap batter is getting, I think she is actually putting that squeeze bottle right into the layer underneath to keep, squeezing it out. And it looks really thick and it's very, whatever, but she is going to be banging this down to really flatten everything out multiple times through this pour, I'm sure. As it starts to get too big and clumpy and, just thick, she will start, banging it down to sort of smooth out the top layer. So there are ways to continue on with the pour, even if your soap batter gets too thick, even if it's not the, you know, the way that you were shown. And you sort of work with those ways and figure that out as you soap or make things or whatever. And then, you know, when you find out that trick, I mean, tell people that trick, because for the maker mentality, they're going to make it regardless. And so, yeah, let's see how, well, she didn't super bang it there, but I am certain that that can all go down really nicely if you just bang the crap out of it on the table. That, totally. Yes. But yeah, no, yeah, so that's a little trick. If your soap batter's thick, stick the nozzle all the way in to the soap underneath it and then squeeze. Is the point that I was trying to make with all of that. And I was very long-winded for that, but luckily it's a very long video, so I can actually, you know, do the thing. See, look, the banging. That smoothed that one side out, the lower side there, really beautifully. Everything fell into place. So it's still looking great. And yeah, God, dancing funnels. You get to this part in the dancing funnel pour where it is getting thick and the soap batter is sticking to the sides of the container of the squeeze bottle, and I'm getting frustrated and I'm thinking about all the extra soap batter that I'm not going to be able to put into this, because what do you do with it? Like, squeeze it all, because like in a normal, you know, log pour or whatever, everything that's left over and all the things, just like glop it all onto the top and then create a pretty top with it. Like, that totally works. But you obviously can't do that with a slab pour, because what you see right in front of you is the top of the finished soap. So you don't want to do that, like, for sure. I mean, or maybe you want to do that. Could be interesting if you just put all of the soap batter on top and then like planed it all off. But then again, you're still losing the depth of the soap. Whatever. The waste that comes from squeeze bottles is my biggest problem with anything involving squeeze bottles. And so basically, I go out of my way to just not use squeeze bottles because, well, because of that reason right there. So yes, but you know, her soap has been really good throughout all of this. I've cut out the pieces where she continues to reload her green bottle, but you do have to reload that fairly frequently, or just have enough, you know, soap or enough bottles already prepared and, you know, whatever in the, you know, ready to go. But if you look at that pink bottle there on the left, you see the separation that's going on in there. That's how you can tell just how thick this soap batter is becoming. We have two different sections of, you know, soap in there, and the stuff that's on top, that is not sliding down to the bottom there. So it's getting pretty thick, and that's all a thing. And right now, again, this becomes the frustrating part for me, because it's like I just spent 40 minutes of my life dutifully putting circle after circle after circle into the thing, and now it's getting thick. It's going to be a disaster, and I start to get stressed. But the placement of her circles has actually been very interesting, and I probably should have talked about that earlier, but one of the reasons I was rambling actually is because it was causing me great anxiety, because she was very, very haphazard all over the place with her placement of the circles. And one of the things that you're sort of taught in the soap challenge for this particular, the dancing funnel, is it shouldn't really be super haphazard. The second layer of like your green in this case should go in between the rest of the colors. But anytime that I like do this, my eyes cross. I have no idea where the middle is at some point, like in between the, you know, the circles or whatever. I have no idea where that even exists at a certain point, and it all just does become chaotic. And this right here, the final little, you know, trying to get everything into the mold, yeah, you have the pockets from the squeeze bottle with the extra air that's inside of it, and all of the, and it is a thing, and it is a frustrating thing, and it's not fun. And that happens at the end of squeeze bottles almost all the time, regardless of how fluid the batter is, ish. But it's still, I don't know, it's all very, the whole thing is very chaotic and sort of like weirdly anxiety inducing for me. And that's crazy because I don't actually have anxiety for anything, but whenever I see something like this, I'm like, hey, yeah, that's a lot. And my eyes, again, they cross and I have no idea which way is up, and you know, there's that. But this whole soap looks pretty good. I don't hate it. It's pretty nice. I think she'll probably clean up a couple of the extra little pockets there that you can see in the pinks there, or just bang the crap out of it before it goes into the oven. And it will be C-popped and gelled overnight, so we can make sure that that beautiful pink stays nice and beautiful and all of the things. And yeah, I mean, again, it's a long pour, but as you can see, even without the fluidity of the batter that you're supposed to have for the entirety of a dancing funnel pour, it still works. Like, there's still dancing funnel things. Yes. Oh yeah, everything's smoothed down great. So into the oven for C-pop and gel, and we will cut into this and see what all of the bars look like tomorrow. And you know, that means right now. So onto the cut of this, and yeah, it's super beautiful. It looks really nice. I love how shiny it is. You can definitely tell that it all went through gel for sure. That's definitely a gelled batch of soap. And the back is super cute. Like, that's actually very adorable. And now some people plane the back off, so you have the, like, the circular pattern in all, you know, all sides of the bar. But that's a really pretty back. So I totally would not plane it off because I just think that's adorable. And I would probably actually stamp that side as well to keep the pattern sort of intact on the top. Now, the biggest problem with this is that because the batter got very, very thick, right? You do have these raised, you know, bumps here in your design. And for my personal preference, I'm actually okay with that. I think it looks very cool. I like adding dimension and, you know, like extra texture to the soap. So I think it's gorgeous. If you didn't like it though, you could totally, and see, we still have the little circles going on inside with that. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's super cute. It's like a spotted, like leopard. If a leopard were these colors, like that totally works. And they're nice little circles on the top as well. And I'm cutting this very, very soft, so I'm definitely having to do some cleanup on the edges there, just because the thickness of my blade is going to kind of mar the surface when you're cutting a bar this soft, but that's okay. Because it's this soft, it's easy to clean up. And yeah, no, if you didn't want the texture on the top, you just wait a couple days and then you can just plane off the top. And then it becomes all smooth and awesome. So I'm going to show you what that looks like with one of my soaps that I did yesterday. And then, you know, go ahead and try to maybe do one of hers. But again, it's very soft. This is not something I would normally do. I normally would not put it through the planer when it's this soft. But mine have sat for about a day. And so they're pretty firm at this point. And so I can plane off my top. And so that's sort of what you get when you plane it off, which becomes a more finished product. Now, if you were going to be submitting that to the soap challenge, I would definitely plane it off, at least the bar that you're submitting, right? But for the rest of them, I do like the texture, and I think that it's very cool. So for me personally, I would probably keep the, you know, the texture on it just for, you know, my personal preference. But that's what hers look like when it's planed off too, and that's also cool. I love that for sure. And yeah, no, I mean, she did a good job. Her first dancing funnel, I like it. The colors are bright. Nothing terrible happened. And there it is. That is a day 298, the Soaprentice's attempt and, you know, first time with a dancing funnel pour from the Amy Warden's Soap Challenge. Scented with pear, looks like a dragon fruit, and I think it's super gorgeous. Whew, those bars are super bright. I love them. I thought that was such a fun little color palette that she did with that, and definitely beautiful, absolutely beautiful. She actually didn't really mind the dancing funnel. That was very interesting to me because I don't like them at all, so that's good. I really like how we tend to really vibe off of each other really well, and if there's something that I don't like making, turns out she really does, and vice versa. So it all works out really well in the soap shop, so she may end up doing more dancing funnels. As far as like the two of them go, they're both beautiful. I really don't know which one I would like more. The scent blend is great. That juicy pear that we used for it, so bright, so beautiful, so perfect for this cold time of the year. I know like pears don't make sense in January, but also this completely makes sense in January. So there's that. But yeah, I actually like both of these bars equally. I don't know which one I would decide is, you know, prettier. If you're interested in these soaps, you can totally find them on the website at soapandclay.com. Mine and George's are there, so you can click from the drop down and decide which one you like more. Cool. If you're interested in more soapy antics and seeing what else we do for the Amy Warden Soap Challenge, as well as what other scents we test from Nurture Soap, so far so good. They're not doing too bad with this right now. Just a couple minor snafus, but nothing that I would, you know, really call them out for. So yeah, I'm liking them so far, but you know, we still have a couple more scents to test. So you should subscribe to the channel and you'll be notified when we drop the said videos for said tests. Yes, for those of you who are subscribed, hey, thanks for being subscribed. I appreciate you oh so very much. That does it for me today. I will see you guys all again tomorrow for another round of soapy fun. Bye.